to a work in progress of THISTLE. THISTLE is part, I'm Carrie Klewin, the director of the production. THISTLE is part of Soulographie, which is a performance cycles of plays dedicated to exploring the topic of genocide. And it's from many different angles. This particular play deals with one woman's testimony from an incident that happened in El Salvador. And so we are going to have a talk back, a brief one, at the end of today's performance where we would love to hear your feedback because, as I said, this is a work in progress. The festival that we will be taking this show to is not until November of 2012 in New York. And so we're very excited to have a period of time where we can be in development with this and get feedback from people such as yourselves along the way. Please turn off your cell phones, and I think that is all I have to say. It looks like if you guys could just take a moment, if there's an empty seat, if you guys could just shuffle down, because it looks like we have a bit of standing room, and just fill in those empty seats. I'm sure the people who are, that would be great. In case there's any more latecomers. It's exciting to have a full house. All right, so if everyone is ready for a performance and contemplation of THISTLE. Thank you.
Between the stars.
Why 1982?
A record is skipping. It's stuck there.
Everything began when Mr. Marcos Diaz was at the biggest shop in Minnesota. Everything began when Mr. Marcos Diaz was at the biggest shop in Minnesota. Everything began when Mr. Marcos Diaz was at the biggest shop in Minnesota.
What
Everything began when Mr.
begins?
Marcos Diaz was at the biggest shop in Minnesota.
This is the sworn testimony of Sister Rafina Amaya.
The biggest shop
regarding the massacre of 1,100 men, women, and children in the THISTLE, Morazan province, El Salvador. The killing takes place over 3 days, December 11, 12, and 13. This is a testimony, child.
How did you find me in Oklahoma?
You found me. The way you moved right to me. Your heart is a crystal, lanced by our signal. Neither of us has a choice in this.
Everything began with Mr. Marcos Diaz with the biggest shop in Everything began with Mr. Marcos Diaz. Everything began with shop.
Get the record to stop skipping.
Well, you'll have to hear her whole story then.
Everything began with Mr. Marcos Diaz with the biggest shop. Everything began with Mr. Marcos Diaz with the biggest shop. Everything began with Mr. Marcos Diaz with the biggest shop. Everything began with Mr. Marcos Diaz with the biggest shop.
How do we keep it from skipping?
You're listening. Your attention is the bump that unsticks it. El Mazote, the THISTLE, is a town in Morazan where 1,000 people were slain. A woman, Rafina, testifies solo. None of the others remain.
Radio lets is your heart, we start. Radio lets is your heart, we start.
Everything began when Mr. Marcos Diaz, who has the biggest shop in El Mazote, was told in Gotera when he was on his way to buy some goods that he should buy 2 truckloads instead of 1, because the army was not going to allow any more food in the town because they were there in the north of Morazan.
The army told him that he should gather all of the townspeople to the center of El Mazote.
This woman is Rafina Amaya. Where will she sit? I'll get her a chair.
I was in Isidora Claros' house on the 10th of December when the army arrived and forced us out of our houses and ordered us to lie face down on the ground in front of Mr. Diaz's house.
I was, and lay face down. I was.
At 7 o'clock in the evening, they ordered us back inside the houses, took all of our money, jewelry, told us not to come out or they would kill us. No one did, not even to take care of physical necessities.
I will take a handful of dirt from before anything happens here. My heart is a crystal. In my heart is the thistle. In my pocket, a handful of dirt from before anything happens.
We awakened early. Those of us who could sleep at all, we awakened. The cows and goats unmilked too long. They complained as long as they could and then stood low-headed, mask-faced, watching.
They woke us up in the houses on the 11th. At 5, they woke us and led us into separate lives. Separate lives for the men, the women, and the children. Women and children crowded together into one house. Men to the church. The soldiers say, "We will let the men go free, but first you have to tell us where you keep the arms."
We are unarmed.
Tendons in their neck, heart,
through a little hole in the window of the house where the women were being held.
All of this I saw.
All of this I heard through Radio Venceremos pirating the TJC band. All of this I saw, animals unmilked and starving, dancing in the famine room, lovers and brothers brought down too soon. All of this I saw through a hole. All of this I saw more as the sun rose, as it will. This is happening still. All of this I saw through a hole.
All of this. Some of the men were taken first to their houses and ordered to turn over all of the money that they had, but they too were brought back and killed, their bodies thrown into the convent of the church.
This happens. This is the sound. A hole.
After this, the soldiers came to where we women were.
The young women, the old women.
The young women, exact in their fright. The old women, superb at keening. Removed. The women, between youth and age, between sitting and standing, between life and death, remained.
Those taken, never returned.
At 5 o'clock in the afternoon on this day, the 11th, they took a group of 22 of us women. Outside, you could see how the blood was running. On seeing this river of blood, the women began to cry and scream.
Upon seeing this river of blood, the women began to cry and scream. Upon seeing this river of blood, the women began to cry and scream. Upon seeing this river of blood, the women began to cry and scream. Upon seeing this river of blood, the women began to cry and scream. Upon seeing this river of blood, the women began to cry and scream.
As I remembered my children, Faustino Amaya Claros, 9. Maria Dolores Amaya Claros, 5. Martha Lilian Amaya Claros, 3. Maria Isabel Amaya Claros, 8th month.
I fell to my knees and prayed. Forgiveness for the sins I've made. I pulled down a branch of an apple tree, and I begged the Lord to save me.
The soldiers were. I was. The soldiers were on all sides. They were killing the women in groups.
Come here, baby. Don't hold on. You can walk. When they were bringing forward the group of women I'd been in, I felt the desire to give myself up and let them kill me. Come on. But at the same time, I remembered that God had already saved me, because they hadn't seen me yet.
The soldiers then commented, "All right, we finished with the old women and men. Now only the children are left. Set that house on fire!"
Thin green sap expands at the rate of kerosene.
the children. Do I know this child? I don't know. Please.
Please don't make Rufina move.
Rufina! Rufina!
Do I know this child?
Mama.
I don't know.
She knows.
She can't move.
Voice walking towards me with the solidity of a horse. Roan, coat of fire. A saint, all bone. Insane on voice's back. Armed. Prepared to identify me. Low-eyed horse. Foam lung from fire sniffs the ground. 25% of apocalypse walks up on me from my right, saying, Mama.
Only the children left.
Last house on the left.
What should we do?
Some of them are really cute.
It would be a shame to kill them.
Rufina in the fire's light spoke with breath contracted. My children, words shrinking to ice.
Yeah, the colonel said not to leave.
Anyone alive?
Operativo Tierra Arrasada.
Scorched earth operation. The apple tree didn't catch fire because Rufina was in a world of ice.
It took 2 men to pull the baby from me.
One corpse found was a plastic horse, strangely perfect in the pocket of degrading pants.
She scooped a hole in which to catch her sobbing. After this, some of the soldiers retreated. Only the elite stayed to work through the dark.
Because I was so near and so still, I could hear them move through the roots of the tree. My hands were over my ears to shut out the screams. My fingers became roots of the tree, and I heard anyways. No shots! They were killing them with knives. We will dress ourselves in silence for a new ceremony. We will clothe ourselves for a marriage to a new place. But I was afraid they might see me. Sparks flew down on me from the last house burning. Fascinated by the light, the animals come to play. Dogs and cats and goats, fascinated by the light. Who suckles the others to relieve them? The animals nurse each other. They are drunk on strange milk. The animals nurse each other, fascinated by the light. The killing is nearly over. The light is fascinating. Skeletal, pup, and cap and kid. The refugee escapes in their plane.
Stay. The animals, delirious with hunger and mesmerized by the glow and myrrh of the crematory, gave me cover. I pretended that I was a dog and moved by their flanks. Through the fence of midnight and onto the side of the next day eternal, I prayed and prayed.
Stay!
I see something. Over there. Nothing? Yes, there she is!
She is the witch of Amazote, La Llorona. The bullets turned to water. And so the soldiers got scared and ran away. I ran the other way. I awoke on the 12th of December and ran again.
Birdsong.
Running by a hill called the Cruise, Rufina heard the girls. It had taken this many days for the soldiers to finish. Don't kill me, don't kill me. They resisted like birds in their hands. As birds they were murdered, as girls raped. Their song stayed high in
take from her. They shot her in the chest, and the song still came. They had to put the metal of a knife's blade between her heart and mouth.
The stars are invisible in all this sunlight, but I know they are there. They are nails, invisible nails, hammering infinity. My carpenter built today. They are nails, a structure of innocence, thorns to the sky, boards joined at the pain. He and I, La Cruz is in the sky. He and I.
Among these cactus plants, I stayed the whole day. Went crawling. My dress is ripped.
Among these cactus plants during the day, what happened here? What happened here? The thorn and the thistle along the way. What happened here? What happened here? The events are gone, the witness lives on. The roses know all there is to say.
I arrived at the house with my father, but no one was there because they too had fled. I searched for some clothes and found a pair of pants and a sweater and put them on.
Among these cactus plants during the day, filled with bones, filled with bones. I walk among them in every direction. How dry they are, how dry they are. My words make skin, put spirit in. Over the desert, the breath of resurrection. We live again, bones and skin. Spirit kisses resurrection in. We live again, we live again. The land is ours, oh my people.
During the day, I stayed in the bush. At night, I slept in the house of Andres Chicas. Girls brought us corn. We lived in caves. We fled together. Today I live in Segundo Montes City.
Where did she go?
Where she lives?
Your signal is weak.
We're done.
What else?
Bullet casings were all stamped U.S. Army. You could hold them in your hands. The Atlacat Battalion was American trained. You bought the massacre.
What is the helicopter for?
Oh, traffic report. Come in. Come in. The lieutenant colonel in charge of the operation, Monterosa, was a vain man. He loved battle trophies. We allowed him to seize our transmitter once. When he went up in his helicopter to cart it home, we pressed a button. The wreckage of his machine is left as a shrine where it fell from the sky that day.
Where will you go?
Well, our station exploded in the static between the stations. We are the 14 stations of the cross. The 14 stations of Rafina Amaya's testimony. Fourteen.
My heart is radio crystal. In my heart is the thistle.
Who are you? I'm Rose, St. Rose of Lima. You've seen me before and you'll see me again. I live in Station Venceremos, the stations of the cross, my love crucified on static, stretched over the ice of all your skies. The crown of radio light is the crown of thorns.
The region was tossed, and the killings were political, not
The
religious.
story must be told by every truth there is. Radio plays through you, my one. You tell.
When they were killing the children, they threw the loud ones down a well. The children filled a deep well. The children are in the aquifer. Although you cannot hear them, their blood comes up roses. The blood of 75,000 martyrs rises, every weed or rose. I wait to find a fist's worth of dirt from El Mazote in my pocket. Now bright red. Among these roses during the day, martyrs rise from the clay. Among these roses through the night, martyred bones rattle by. Among these roses goes the night, and then what to live shrouded we. Say what happened here, for the dead arose, the dead arose. To say this is what happened here, for the dead arose, the dead arose. To say this is what happened here.
So we're gonna have a little talk back. So I know that some of you guys may need to leave, but please stay. And Professor Matoyer, yes, did I pronounce that right? Okay, great. Would you come on up and join us? And we're gonna set up some chairs. So.
Are those phones? Are there professors going in?
No.
Oh, okay.
Great. So I guess we can just start by opening up to you guys. If you have any questions about the story, Professor Matoyer is a Central American Studies specialist. And if you have any questions about or comments about the performance or the story or anything like that, does anybody have any? Yes.
I don't get the 14 stations. I don't know what it is. I think I was lost.
14 stations refers to the 14 stations, the religious stations. So it would be a lot to explain, but I encourage you to look it up. But basically, it's kind of the root of all theater that was pageantry many centuries ago. So, but it does refer to a religious type of celebration.
And the script is written in 14 stations as well.
There's a test 14 sections. Yeah. Yes.
I have a group of students here from another class, and they may not know any of the historical background of what they've just seen.
Yeah.
I wonder if you could just give us a quick context here.
Some context. So what you saw in Mozote was part of the Salvadoran Civil War. Just one part that was unfortunately, there are many parts to the Salvadoran, the massacres and the genocides that occurred. Basically, the Salvadoran Civil War takes place in the context of the 1980s, when Central America as a whole is embroiled in civil war and revolution. Remember, this is a time of the Cold War conflict, where the U.S. and the USSR have they have divided somewhat artificially the world into east-west. That our conflict becomes really the conflict, what's going on in Central America and throughout Latin America, these movements for independence and sovereignty. The U.S. and the USSR artificially make them about them, east-west conflict. But really these are national movements of sovereignty. In this context, however, these civil wars and revolutions don't have the opportunity to play themselves out. So this takes place during the time of the Red Scare, the Cold War, and so the U.S. will take a particular position in this, and we will be complicit in arming the Salvadoran government against what we would consider to be guerrillas. They were many things, including seeking national sovereignty. They weren't necessarily Marxist guerrillas, but in this context, that's what the U.S. defined them as. And so this war takes place in the 1980s and will take place over the 1980s, won't end until the early 1990s. So that's somewhat of what you saw.
The Amazon, but the massacre that this play describes was a massacre, and the town, the people in the town were not politically engaged as guerrillas. They weren't resistant. They weren't aligned with the resistance movement at all. It was just, honestly, it was just a massacre of innocent people,
And so the pretext would be that there is some sort of involvement, but there isn't any involvement, any political activism that's going on. So that's why we classify it as a genocide. There isn't, when it's all said and done, all the evidence points back to the fact that the Salvadoran government is trying to basically eradicate the indigenous people because they believe that they're expendable. For reasons, for land, to get land because they're not productive, whatever, but just based on who they are, not based on what they believe, not based on what they've done.
We talked about too in one of my classes that violence is a weapon, is a terror. It is a weapon. It keeps people quiet. So if there's a town near you that a lot of people will just kill, you're not going to stand up to the government. So it's a way to silence people as well. Not only take land and resources, but keep people oppressed.
But the U.S., so you're saying the U.S. is responsible for this specific genocide because they were helping the Salvadoran government go against the resistance?
There's an implication in the script. I don't know that Professor Garline is saying that. Maybe you are.
Well,
But
they
I
were
think that
trained by the Salvadoran government, army was trained by the U.S., School of Americas.
Not a story that we have not heard before.
Yeah, and they were supplied with the weapons to do whatever they wanted to do. What happened once the massacre happened, the U.S. the government tried to cover it up. They didn't talk about it. It was denied until the remains were excavated. I think years later, like 10 years later or something. It was totally denied, and you know, and I think more recently people are starting to go back to the town and inhabit the town and the people who live there originally.
Then it was all inflamed because of this, right? That was the one seeing the house.
Yeah, it was burnt and destroyed.
This is the story of one woman's testimony. She was the only survivor from the entire town.
And she really saw that she escaped, and she saw everything that's described in the play and in the testimony.
So let me just, to clarify, so U.S. complicit, the U.S. is complicit. And so there's some nuances to that. It's not, we're not saying, or the facts don't say that the U.S. went and sent U.S. troops. We're complicit in ways of supplying aid, supplying the training of the Atalanta battalion that went on to commit many other egregious crimes against their own people and to provide harms. So we're very much complicit.
Hi, I came a couple minutes late, so I'm sorry. You may have said this before the piece started, but I was wondering, where was the playwright able to access this testimony? Is it published testimony, or is it something that, like, how? I'm just curious, like, how does one? Is this information that's readily available? Does you have to track it
I think
down?
the interview is actually on YouTube. So we found it on.
Okay, so now it's something that's fairly public. Then I guess it's been posted on YouTube.
She's since passed away, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So she's passed away, but then she recorded this.
Well,
She was telling the story for over 25 years.
Okay.
She sort of reminds me of Rigoberto Manchu, who went around and talked about what happened in Guatemala. Whereas Rufina Maya was the base to the genocide that occurred in Mulassan.
Okay, and then the playwright just happened to sort of see it on YouTube, or like.
I'm not sure what his personal experience is with this testimony, but he often uses testimony. He will go to, for example, he for another one of his plays, he actually went to the trial to see one of what ended up being a character in one of his plays. So yeah, he's very fascinated with historical documents and the way that we tell stories and the way that we remember.
And they're
so
powerful stories. I mean, that's powerful narrative. Thank you.
Now you guys said that this is just one segment of, was it 14 different stories, or how many stories?
17 plays. 17 different plays.
Now, are 17 plays all about the El Salvadorian?
No,
it's about,
this is the only one that's about El Salvador. Germany, we have a couple from Africa. There's Tulsa, race riots. They're all from different perspectives and different. One recent one is about child soldiers. So they're all from very different aspects of genocide.
And then I had one more question. The scene about the guy that liked trophies, got the radio, and I was kind of lost in that. What exactly was that story about?
I don't know if that's true, actually. Remind me of his name.
When you look at the Truth Commission report, there's actually a great deal of details that come out about, because there's a number of testimonies. Not Rufina Maya is the only survivor of El Mozote, but Obi's 3-day period, other villages were also attacked. There were a couple other survivors. And then the Salvadoran army goes on to do this for 15 years. So with all of the amassing of evidence, they're able to tell quite detailed stories and then to get to know these characters, the lieutenant and so forth. And so that comes out of the Truth Commission report.
That he really did take up the battle trophy and his helicopter was destroyed.
Yeah. So
there's what the broadcaster, my character, is saying is they allowed him to seize their radio transmitter as a battle trophy, but they planted a bomb inside of it.
And who's there? Like guerrillas? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
There was a lot of religious context in the play, as far as I saw. Is that like leading one of his works, or is it just specific to this because it's also Salvador?
Yes, it's very much a theme of many of his works. He has two different kind of collections, if you will, the Saint plays and also 13 Christ. The Saint plays itself, he is attempting to write a play about every saint, which he professes that he will not finish. So it's a lifelong project that will keep him living many years. But he's Catholic and very interested in, again, how we tell stories and where these stories cross, the myths and how we celebrate how we celebrate, how we mourn, and ultimately to try to come to some kind of reconciliation with these events.
I have a question for the audience. Oh, sorry. Who is that guy?
I think it's a theater question, a storytelling, staging question, I guess. So when I was watching, I think I saw like different elements, maybe kind of Japanese theater influence, Greek maybe a little bit, and also Brecht, I think a little bit, kind of storytelling.
Oh, it's highly Brechtian,
right?
sure.
So I just wondered why you I want to hear from you why you chosen maybe those styles again to help us.
Okay, so you probably got the feeling that this is not your traditional type of a play in the way that the text is written. And so in order to help the audience and to create an evening of theater entertainment for the audience, I think that there are many different ways to tell a story, and some of those include physical storytelling that is not linear, that's not necessarily narrative, but that is more in the subconscious, if you will. And so a lot of the work that was done here is very ensemble based, that because they were working with the text, they came up with a lot of ideas. And I think that Erik's work really asks for a more contemporary style of presentation than your typical play. So what you see is a very postmodern kind of many different elements. I mean, we've in our rehearsal we've gone from using a slide projector and shadow puppets to bunraku and that kind of thing. So really, what we were looking for is how to tell the story, how to hopefully affect the audience and get across Erik's message as best as possible with the elements that we have. So yeah, you see a lot of different elements as a result of that.
More movements showing suffering.
Okay.
This actually leads me to the question I had, which was about the fact that this is sort of the first try of getting the group together on their feet to make the story happen, to make it work. And so I have a question to ask you. What we've already heard about some of the confusing elements, and that's really useful as theater makers, but were there any moments that were particularly effective for you? That would be really good to know.
The faces through the blood thing.
I believe also the little puppets used to signify the figures.
I like the chorus, like the choral work.
Oh, when you were tangled as a red sheet.
Oh, I was just going to ask, did you write that music yourself, the songs?
Yes, she did.
Did you?
Yeah, well, Eric wrote the words, and then I put chords.
Oh, so there were words provided, and you came up with musical accompaniment and gave a melody.
Yeah, and Eric. Yeah.
The music is great.
There's actually music available that was streamed out live to the radio. I would suggest maybe using a little bit of that music.
Is it El Salvadorian?
Yeah, it's actually, it was used to project off of the radio stations. It was illegal, so it came from kind of slowed off. But cool. Yeah, I would suggest that maybe incorporating that in.
Okay, great.
It was really effective in several different characters repeated the same line at the same time.
I was thinking of comment that you use is really powerful too, and yours is such a powerful story, because I'm part Salvadorian, so I know what the story really was, and it's really powerful to see that you as an artist presenting something that a lot of people don't see in the United States of what happened really.
Thank you.
I just had a question about as far as the staging. When we read the play in Judy's class, we talked about the powerful imagery that the testimony contained. I was wondering, was there a particular reason you didn't present the testimony?
Yes, because it's a theatrical reimagination of the testimony, and we're still trying to figure out whether we should or shouldn't include it. We've gone back and forth quite a few times. At this point, I feel like it raises a lot of questions, and I would rather you go home and look on YouTube and have your own journey with this material than for us to present you with a testimony and for you to walk out and say, okay, we've tied up that present, now we don't need to mess with it anymore. So that's where I'm at the moment. We did also consider maybe putting it in the program so you could, again, continue with it outside of the room. But you can find it quite easily.
I have a further question, piggyback on your comment. Is this, I'm not familiar with the playwright's work, but it seems like he's using this medium to tell stories, facts. I think most of these events have already been established. Is he, or is this a way to raise awareness, or to, maybe, I don't know, come up with this idea that these are genocides, crimes against humanity, things that we should learn from?
It definitely to raise awareness. I don't think you put together a festival, or it's a performance cycle, of 17 plays all focused on genocide without trying to draw some attention to yourself, right, and to the topic. My experience with Erik's work is that he's really just asking us to contemplate and asking us to make our own decisions, which is one of the reasons that it's a little bit open-ended and that you see multiple perspectives. And that it can be a little bit confusing because he's not necessarily dictating this is right, this is wrong, and necessarily pointing fingers, but leaves the audience to come to the material, which is part of why, again, the layered presentation and the very physical, so that hopefully you can come to the material from your own experience. So I wouldn't necessarily say that there's a specific message with each of the plays, but that as a whole, he is very interested in peace and reconciliation. And so, how we come to that as an individual, I think he's encouraging the conversation and opening up a space for contemplation through his work.
Can I say something that I thought was effective? The drawing immediately on the ground and around.
It's like that.
Um,
I really like that part.
And especially the part when she's lying on the ground and you see the tracing of the body back.
Well, I had a question about the drawing on the ground, and I really liked the live element of the performance a lot. And it was nice to get just playing the guitar, seeing it now that you can throw in sequence or down the road, someone you do the same best way. So it's nice and not to have that. And with the drawings on the ground, I really liked seeing them done. I wondered if you thought maybe if it was possible that somehow you could hook that up to a computer, somehow we could see that as a projection, so we see it as a backdrop, and that's what the stuff is on the floor, we see on the wall or something.
Yeah, we've gone back and forth with technology.
Right.
Kind of where we're at right now is that we were really enjoying the simplicity of the storytelling. So as much as we all love technology, we're live feeding this performance to our Soulographie friends around the world. We also really enjoyed when we got down to it, and it was very simple methods of storytelling as well. But I appreciate that because we've gone back and forth, so we're still thinking it over.
Along those lines, I like the use of the maps. Can you talk a little bit about that choice? And is it something that you plan on expanding on?
The masks?
Masks.
Ah, yes. Well, a couple of the masks are actually called for in the script. The cow mask, the single cow mask at the beginning, for example, is actually something that the playwright requested. But we, from the very